Hello and welcome to another episode of the e-commerce coffee break podcast. Today we want to dive deep into email marketing because Q4 is coming up, Black Friday is coming up, and we want to find out how you can capture every possible email address that is out there for your business. Now, things have changed in the email marketing quite a bit since Apple did some big changes, and I think not everyone is aware of what kind of implication that has on collecting email addresses and doing email marketing. So with me on the show today, I have Adam Robinson. He's the founder and CEO of Retention.com. He has bootstrapped Retention.com to 20 million average annual revenue is working in public and posts daily on LinkedIn. That's where you'll find him, and is making a docuseries called The $1 Billion Challenge, chronicling his journey with Retention.com. So let's welcome Adam to the show. Hi, Adam. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Adam, iOS 14.5 and everything that followed really messed it up for marketing, specifically for email marketing, and we want to dive right into it. Give me an overview what really happened.
So, this is what has gone on from being someone who sells into these e-commerce vendors, but is not one myself. iOS 14 happened, which in my observation took everyone's Facebook. And by the way, we sell into Shopify stores mainly. So it's mainly a Facebook ad exercise that people are doing to grow their businesses for the most part. CAC LTV or whatever, return on ad spend or whatever. In my observation, if you were to go before iOS 14 versus now, it's like gone up by 50%, right? The cost to acquire a customer on average. I'm sure there's some cases in which it's not that. And interestingly, so iOS 14 prohibited, the user had to opt into being tracked across websites. So a thing that it did, which was so punitive, was it just made targeting harder because it made it harder for Facebook to put someone in a bucket of interest and build a profile, and it made it harder to show them a targeting ad. So they were just new every time. I think everybody gets that. And the brands who kill it today, in my opinion, it's like True Classic is this t-shirt company. They were founded under 3 years ago, and they're doing 150 million run rate revenue. I think they kill it because they can serve a broad ad, if that makes sense. They're just showing t-shirt ads to men, period. And it's not like, men who have a gluten intolerance, who have a whatever, you know what I mean? Which is kind of like, I just wanted to say that because I don't think all hope is lost. It's just this Facebook thing before iOS 14 had this incredible ability for a brand to create this hyper niche product and then just find those people who would buy it like right. Very quickly, right? So that was a big change there, and it's in Meta. What I don't think people are aware of is that Apple's doing other stuff other than this iOS update. They have this thing called intelligent tracking prevention. And that has been ratcheting down on what are called third-party applications. So things like Meta, Klaviyo, Shopify, these third-party apps' ability to track users on their website. Let's talk about email, because that's what we're talking about today. Why would it matter so what has happened is Klaviyo, for instance, who everybody knows, just IPO'd, everybody uses, they used to be able to track someone on a merchant's website for 2 years. And if you go, they did it with a cookie. If you search Klaviyo's help docs and type Klaviyo cookie, the first thing that you will see is this warning banner that says, as of April 23rd of this year, due to intelligent tracking prevention, instead of 2 years, Klaviyo's tracking only lasts 7 days. So why is that a problem? Well, the problem is if someone clicks on a Facebook ad, hits your website, and browses around and puts something in their cart and leaves, they will get the best email that exists in the world today. They will get an abandoned cart email. That's amazing. If 8 days later, they come back on their own volition and they don't click through from an ad, you don't know who they are. They can click 8 days later. they can click around, put a pair of shoes in their cart and leave, and you can't send them that email. A year ago, they could have come back 9 months later and done that and gotten an abandoned cart email, right? So if you have to start at 0 every 7 days, the amount of people that you actually have tracked and the ability to send these messages to relative to the amount of people that there would be if you could track for 2 years is smaller by 2/3, approximately, I've seen from the data, because this is what we do. This is what we sell. So I just want to raise awareness of this problem, because I think most merchants know what iOS 14 was and that it hurt them, and that it hurt them in Meta. I don't think hardly anybody is aware of this intelligent tracking prevention and its effect on you in your email program, right? So it's a problem. You need to fix it. Check out retention.com. This is what we do. We track people. We have 4 different ways of identifying people, and we identify people on your website, help you track them for longer. And it just makes, the biggest thing it does with respect to this Apple thing is it makes all of these flows that you set up, which Klaviyo makes you set up an abandoned checkout flow, but I would recommend setting up an abandoned add to cart flow, an abandoned browse flow, and a welcome series. These automated, part of the magic, most of the magic of Klaviyo is the ease with which you can set up these messages to go out over email and SMS from people taking action on your website, because those are timely, they're contextual, they're relevant, they resonate, right? Like they are the magic email. So yeah, there's another way to use this technology, which going into Black Friday is, I think it's just like a hack. There's no other way to describe it. So our original product, if a visitor hits your homepage and they leave without filling out a form, we can resolve that to a deliverable email address, only for USA traffic. And we can just put it in your email list, and we can grow your list that way. Everybody's like, how is that legal? How does it work? And what do I send? And, aren't these emails just going to be junk or whatever? We are incredibly judicious about cleaning them, and we know how to make them deliver well. So like, that's number 4. With the legality part, in the USA only, if you have an opt-out link in the email, you're not actually legally required to get an opt-in. So this is not Europe. In Europe, you're required opt-in for data collection on the internet. It's not Canada. Opt-in for data collection in email. It's only USA technology. And then number 3, how does it work? We have a publisher network who do banner ads, and we basically have the ability to take anonymous digital identifiers in the ad tech world and connect them to profiles, which include emails of people that have opted in to receive emails from the publisher network. That's 10,000 feet how it works. And it's incredible. Dr. Squatch, for instance, which I think people have heard of, this big soap company. They were doing a lot of ads. They got acquired. They onboarded this 90 days before Black Friday last year. We were responsible for over $1 million of incremental revenue in October alone. And we were 5% of their revenue from the whole Black Friday period, which is just awesome.
That's insane. Yeah.
It's incredible. So yeah, that's the long and short of the message. There's a lot that can be done with this on-site visitor identity. We mostly focus on email. We also have some products that feed audiences into Meta because of the shortcoming of the retargeting pixel now. They're blocked. We're not, because we don't have an app in the Apple App Store. But yeah, this is what I'm trying to do. Just make sure everybody knows, at the very least, that these possibilities exist for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Great overview. Now, obviously, we are exactly in this time scheme. Black Friday, there's still a little bit of time. I think a lot of merchants are already very late to the table when it comes to their marketing preparation for Black Friday. Now, if we want to collect more email addresses, your system obviously is a complete new way on how to find email addresses where you actually otherwise wouldn't have to use a form, for instance. And forms have, I don't know, 2%, 3% sign up rate if you're on a good day. Is that right?
I think that on a homepage, that's a pretty good average. If you're the best in the world at it and it's like way down the funnel, then you're going to get higher than that. But it's no more than single digit, collection rate, like mid single
Right.
digit, doesn't get above.
How would you go about warming up these new acquired email addresses to really get them into the funnel?
So this is hard to get your head around a little bit. These emails have very high positive engagement, but they have negative engagement that's like a bit too high to just send to these emails alone. The way that one cold emails in consumer, in e-commerce or whatever, you can't just like start a company, buy a list and blast to it. That doesn't work. You know what I mean? It just, for whoever's tried that, you know what I'm talking about. It just causes endless problems. Email is a game that is built on reputation. If you establish an email program and you're regularly mailing to a list, it cleans itself to the point where the engagement of that list or your 30-day active openers is like very high. You can sprinkle in this type of email that has very high positive and slightly high negative engagement at a rate where it's like, a few percentage of the overall flow per day. And it just works beautifully because the emails are inexpensive. Now, these people are just going to start getting newsletters. But what we've learned over the last 4 years is that works. It's kind of like straight. You're like, well, why? We had been telling people till about a year ago to send a welcome series that says, thanks for stopping by the site. Take them through a 3-part welcome series, then put them in your newsletter. We actually found that everything performs better and the conversion rate is higher when you just start mixing them into a newsletter, which is odd. But I'm just a numbers guy, so I'm going to go with what works. But that works. And what I tell myself is it's probably just brand impressions, right? Like in a weird way, email is, initially maybe not as much about what it says, but just the fact that, you're sort of warming people up with the same compelling content that the rest of your newsletter is getting, something like that.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on warming up to people going into Black Friday? When would you start a campaign? When would you send out the first of notifications to make people aware that Black Friday is around the corner?
So if this is not to do with our product, right? With emails we're giving you, I would send to them as soon as possible. As it pertains not with our product, it's a good question. I think, I kind of treat the internet as though people's attention and their memories are incredibly short. It's almost like longer than a week in internet time, in my opinion, is like, when I say I have no idea what I browsed or saw last Thursday, I'm not kidding. I don't know what I was looking at. Like I get gun to my head. I'm 42, 43. Maybe I'm losing some short and medium term memory or whatever it's called. But like, I have no idea what I was doing last Friday on my computer or Thursday. So I think you can start, warming them up a little bit a week in advance or whatever. But in my opinion, if you're talking about Black Friday, 2 weeks before Black Friday, that's an eternity. That's like that's light years from Black Friday. I think you probably even get away with a few days, telling them something's coming up a few days in advance.
Okay.
That's one man's opinion, right? And by the way, I'll qualify by saying I'm not actually in the game. I'm like a guy who's a vendor to these people. So
Exactly. Yeah, cool. Now, with a fast list grow, there might be some risks also involved. Means like list cleaning, making sure that everything gets delivered. How do you deal with that?
So generally speaking, we usually only sell that product to somebody who's got over 3 million of sales per year going through their store. The bigger you are, the better. The Dr. Squatch example is like a great one. There is usually a magic balance between the amount of traffic they have that we can turn into emails, the amount of emails they've collected over the years that can sort of take this amount of traffic we're giving them. And we also never want to give somebody more than like 2% per day on average of what's going out. So we have a throttle that we can, there's several different ways to throttle what's coming in. You could, for instance, only send emails to the brand after they've seen 2 different pages, which cuts the volume by 3/4, right? Or you could say, I'm only going to give this brand 500 per day, for instance. So long story short, we make sure that it's not going that they're so far below what would overwhelm their delivery reputation that it doesn't even become part of the discussion ever. But, you know, if you're in my position, it pays to be as conservative as possible. You know, like the last thing I need is like a bunch of brands out there talking about how I blew up their deliverability, right? It would literally destroy everything I'm doing right now. So yeah, we're unbelievably conservative in that department.
With your hack on getting anonymous people the email address from them, how do you prevent that you basically get email addresses that you already have in your list?
So that's part of the product. We use their existing list as a suppression list, so you'll never get an email that you already have. It checks Klaviyo first before it like puts it in to make sure it's not there.
Okay. Now, obviously, Klaviyo just had a huge stock market event yesterday or 2 days.
God bless them.
Before.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. I went there myself using Klaviyo for years. And Shopify, are you also working with other platforms? What's the tech stack that you support?
So yeah, it's mainly Shopify Klaviyo just because we're fairly young and have low penetration in this market. The future for us, you know, every vendor who sells SaaS wants to go up market. Salesforce is the place to do it. We have the integrations built out already. BigCommerce, WooCommerce, we do a lot of. Not so much Square. They're kind of like small, you know, ish to make our stuff work. But yeah, those other platforms we're all over. And then all the corresponding email applications that they use. Iterable, Braze, Bluecore, you know, Salesforce Marketing Cloud. We have integrations for all of them.
Okay, sounds great. How does the typical onboarding process look like?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. I think it's a few hours of work. We do most of it, but like there's things that the brand need, you know, we need Klaviyo permissions, Shopify permissions, whatever. So it's like, I think start to finish, it usually takes 7 days, but it's probably only an hour of the brand's time, you know. It's just kind of like getting permissions and then waiting for some work to be done and then, you know, sort of approving it all and flipping it on. And that generally, again, it's like if you just had someone's undivided attention, it would happen in a few hours, but like that's not how onboarding works in my experience. You know.
Very true. Yeah. How does your pricing structure work? What's the pricing look like?
Yeah. So right now we have our starter plan is $500 a month. And you know, the largest people are paying 20 grand or whatever per month, but they're massive. They're like, you know, several $100 billion a year brands. We are creating a Shopify app that's like a $77 a month price point. So it's, you know, much more entry level, which is by design. And it's just a monthly subscription.
Okay, that's very straightforward. To be
Kind of
honest,
based on the size of your company. So like,
right.
you know, a couple million in revenue is like $500 a month.
Okay. What's your take on where this whole thing with iOS and third-party cookies is going? How will it change that, or how will this change the landscape?
Apple is going to try to make it harder to do all of this stuff. Like, it's fairly clear. They, you know, privacy to them means anonymity, which privacy can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. It doesn't mean that to Google, right? Like, it doesn't mean that to me. I think the internet works, you know, I think the next generation of, you know, 2 generations from now, all of this stuff that Apple's talking about and doing, I don't think anyone's going to care about it at all, because we will have all grown up in this world where, you know, of the 4 main tech vendors, only one of them cared about this, and everybody else has been tracking us since we were in the womb. So like, who gives a shit, right? But Apple still has, they have a lot of traffic, and this iPhone thing is like real. It's like they have 60% market share in the US or something, and they're going to keep making it harder for everybody to do all this stuff. So it's exciting for me. You know, the problem's going to keep getting bigger. So
I think there's always
I'm here to solve it.
Exactly. There's always bright people to find a solution to these problems. And what I'm saying for now about 2 years since iOS came out is that at some point we will see a ad platform coming out from Apple.
Oh, that is 100%
so
where they're
wondering.
Going.
I'm wondering that it takes so long, but that's my prediction for the last 2 years. Let's see where it ends. Okay, cool. Before we come to the end of the coffee break today, is there anything that you want to share with the listeners that we haven't covered yet?
No, I think we touched it all. I just want everybody to know that that is a thing that is happening. You know, like, this thing is happening, and you can do something about it. So that's the major message.
Okay. One thing that I want to touch on is the $1 billion challenge that you sort of chronicling. So what's that about?
You know, about a year ago, I thought businesses have these interesting trajectories. It went from, this is like going to be a really good lifestyle business, to like, this thing could be a unicorn. And I had seen people doing this work in public content creation, and I thought that it had a very unique way. It's like, on the simplest level, it's like anyone can build anything that you have, and in 1 second, basically now. Probably faster, right? Maybe not 1 second, but it's getting easier to build whatever you have and you're selling. And, you know, brand and trust are synonymous, in my opinion. And like, the only thing, you know, it's like the biggest differentiator you can have is this brand these days. And it's like, okay, when you're nobody, what's the quickest way to create a brand? And somebody had said this, and I agree. It's like, well, people are on social media platforms to connect to people, not companies, right? So I was like, I think I'm going to try to just make a docuseries chronicling my life as I undergo this transformation from a 6-person lifestyle business to someone who's trying to like aggressively scale unicorn. And it, you know, people, maybe they're blowing smoke up my ass, I don't know, but like, it's a really well done. There's 10-minute episodes, and 10 more 10-minute episodes are going to be launched starting in 3 weeks from now, weekly. And it's just about what it's like being in the middle of this madness. You know, it's like me and my life trying to, you know, will this thing forward, and all of the nonsense that comes from it, you know, and trying to juggle everything everybody's trying to juggle in this position. So that's what it's all about.
Okay, great project.
You can
great
watch
project.
it. Yeah, if you go to my LinkedIn page, Retention Adam, it's in a featured post, like the whole playlist of the episodes that has happened so far, and also on my YouTube page. But I don't have any. I'm putting all my content creation into LinkedIn right now. It's so like, I don't have an audience there really.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a great story. I wish I've done that. I mean, I'm in business as an entrepreneur for more than 20 years, and it makes for good stories. But on the other hand, also it gives for good lessons for people who want to follow in your footsteps. So well done on that idea.
That was my hope.
Cool. Where can people find out more about you guys?
Retention.com. Pretty good domain. Can't misspell it.
That is a good domain. I will put it in the show notes for the people who can't spell. Thanks so much for the time today. I really enjoyed the chat, and I hope a lot of people will come over and follow you on your story and check out retention.com. Thanks for your time, Adam.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey, Klaus here. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Before we wrap things up, I've got a couple of important points to share. Firstly, if you have enjoyed today's episode and want to support the show, here's a simple way to do it. Help me out with that algorithm magic by liking, commenting, and subscribing on your favorite podcast app. And if you're feeling extra generous, leaving a rating would be great. Your support helps me bringing more impactful guests on the show, and it makes it easier for others to discover the podcast. Secondly, I want to talk about to all your business owners out there. Here's a question. Are you tired of juggling everything in your business while struggling with your marketing tasks? Fed up with hit and miss experiences of hiring freelancers or agencies that don't quite get your vision? But perhaps you're not ready to commit to a full-time in-house marketer just yet. Well, I've got a solution for you. Introducing our fractional marketing team. My team and I provide top-notch experienced marketing professionals to become an extension of your business. Not only will they save you up to 50% on cost compared to traditional hires, but they also take care of all this time-consuming, repetitive and complex marketing tasks that have been holding you back. And this way, you can concentrate on what truly matters, the core of your business. To learn more about how we can help you to scale up your online sales with a fractional team member, head over to our website, smart-ecommerce-marketing.com, or reach out to me directly and I'll get you the details. You will find the links in the show notes. Thanks for being a part of our podcast community, and remember, your support means the world to me. Until next time, see you then.